My brother said, let's get rid of the useless people in the family, and you'll be the first. My parents laughed. The only thing you're good for is the money you bring home. I took a deep breath and said, great. In that case, start packing your bags, because this house is mine. My name's Ethan Walker, I'm 31, and I've worked myself into the ground for years. 60-hour weeks as a construction project manager, making around $8,500 a month. 3 years ago, I bought the house I'd always dreamed of. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a pool, and a backyard that looked straight out of a magazine. Every inch of it came from my sweat, my late nights, and every ounce of energy I had left after work. Then one afternoon, my parents showed up on my doorstep. My dad, Rick, was 58, and said he'd retired early because of health issues. My mom, Linda, gave me the same line. My younger brother, Brandon, never lasted more than 6 months in any job he got. The rent went up again, Dad said, looking exhausted. We can't afford it anymore. You've got this big place all to yourself. Maybe we could stay here for a bit, just until we find something. I should have said no, but they were family. So I said, 6 months, that's it, they promised. 2 weeks later, I came home to find them lounging by the pool, drinks in hand, while the kitchen looked like a war zone. The utility bills skyrocketed. Electricity from $180 to $420, water from $90 to $210, groceries from $400 to $100 a month. I asked if they could help with the expenses. We don't have any extra money, Dad said without hesitation. And Brandon? Still unemployed. He barely looked up from his video game when I asked if he'd been job hunting. That's when the comments started. Ethan's always working, Mom would say. He doesn't know how to enjoy life. We do. 6 months turned into a year. When I finally asked, so, when are you planning to move out? Dad said, why would we? We're comfortable here. We're family, Ethan. You shouldn't be keeping tabs. I felt trapped, guilty for wanting my own space, angry for being treated like a stranger in my own home. Then came the breaking point. After a brutal 80-hour week, I got home late one night. I walked into my bedroom and froze. My furniture was gone. All of it. In its place were my parents' things. Bed, dresser, pictures. My clothes were stuffed in boxes in the guest room. I went downstairs, shaking. What the hell did you do? I demanded. Dad didn't even look guilty. We decided we needed the master bedroom, he said casually. It's bigger. We're 2 people. It just makes more sense. Mom added, don't be childish, Ethan. It's just a room. No. It was my room, in my house. I didn't say another word. I went upstairs, locked myself in the guest room, opened my laptop, and logged into my savings account. Balance, $47,850, money I'd been saving for an investment property. I refreshed the page, $23.20. I refreshed again, same number. My chest tightened. Transaction history, 3 days ago, a transfer of $35,530 to an account I didn't recognize. I went downstairs, heart pounding. Who touched my savings account? Dad didn't even look up from the TV. Brandon needed capital to start his business, he said, like it was no big deal. It's a family loan. I didn't authorize that, I snapped. You're so selfish about money, Mom said. You make good money, you'll earn it back. It took me 3 years to save that. Brandon will pay you back once the business takes off, Dad replied. What business? I turned to my brother. An electronics store, he muttered. With who? A friend. You don't know him. You have no business plan, I said. I don't owe you an explanation, he shot back. Dad already approved the loan. It wasn't a loan, I said through my teeth. It was theft. Dad stood up. Watch your mouth. We're family. What's yours is ours. No, I said quietly. What's mine is mine. I earned it. Mom jumped in. We gave you a roof when you needed one. I gave you a roof, I said. This house is in my name. Technicalities. Dad waved it off. You're thinking like a lawyer. We're talking about family. I went upstairs and called the bank. Sir, the rep said, the transfer was authorized with your password and security code. I didn't authorize anything, I said. Does anyone else have access to your information? I thought of my laptop. I always left it in the living room. My passwords were saved in the browser. I need to report fraud, I said. To do that, she replied, you'll need to file a police report. But if the person who made the transfer lives with you, it can get complicated. Can I recover the money? It depends, she said. You'll need legal representation. I hung up, furious. I searched property lawyer Dallas TX and called the first office with good reviews. Law office of Daniel Whitaker, said a calm voice. How can I help you? I need an urgent consultation, I said. My family's living in my house rent-free. They stole my savings. Can you come tomorrow at 9? I'll be there. That night I didn't sleep. I printed statements, collected documents, and packed evidence. By morning I was done being the nice guy. When I sat across from Daniel Whitaker, he looked at the papers and said, you have a strong case. The house is in your name. They don't pay rent. There's no lease. That's grounds for eviction. And the money? Harder, but possible, he said. If we prove unauthorized access, we can file for a freeze and potential recovery. How long will it take? For eviction, 30 days if they cooperate, 60 if they resist. For the money, maybe 3 to 6 months. I want to start now, I said. I'll need a $1,000 retainer. I wrote the check on the spot. By the end of the meeting, I finally felt something I hadn't in a long time. Control. But I had no idea how ugly things were about to get. Leaving the lawyer's office, I felt lighter than I had in months. For the first time since my parents moved in, I wasn't drowning. I had a plan and someone who actually knew how to fight back. I drove straight to work. My boss, Mark Evans, called me into his office almost as soon as I walked in. Ethan, he said, I got a strange call last night. A man claiming to be your brother said you're mentally unstable and having family problems. He suggested we should keep an eye on you. I froze. Did he give a name? No. Mark said, but he had your last name. I let out a bitter laugh. That was Brandon. My family's been staying in my house for free, and when I hired a lawyer to evict them, they started trying to sabotage me. Mark leaned back in his chair. Do you need some time off? No, I said. If I stop working, I'll lose my mind, but if he calls again, please report it as harassment. You've got my support, he said firmly. Don't let this break you. That night, as I was reviewing blueprints in my office, a text popped up from an unknown number. We know you hired a lawyer. Big mistake. You'll regret betraying your family. I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Daniel, my lawyer. He replied almost instantly, keep every message. They'll help us in court. The next day, the court messenger arrived at my house with the official eviction notice. And if you don't want to wait for part 2, you can watch the full story on my YouTube channel. Just tap share, then more, and click the YouTube link here on my profile, or search for the channel Cooper Reddit on YouTube.